So, welcome to the greatest combat sports and culture show in the entire universe, Fight Podcast. I am your host, the Underground King, SERG, VICENTE, and today we have a fun show, man. Like I told you guys before, we have a fun show, and we're going to continue bringing, quality individuals on, man. So today, on the show, I am bringing D. Channsin Berry, man. Chan is, for me, I'll say he's one of my mentors. He is essentially a family member of mine, one of the most interesting people you will ever meet. I'm telling you, he is the Dos Equis man in true form. So we're going to go ahead and introduce him now. Chan Berry is joining us right here on the Fight Podcast. Bang! Chan, brother, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Well, man, first of all, thank you, nephew, for having me on.
Absolutely, sir.
We usually don't do family things in public like this, but it's you, so I had to say yes. So yeah,
Well,
so
I appreciate it, man. I do appreciate it. It's funny now that I seems like I'm on the West Coast more regularly. We're closer, but because of this quarantine, man, everyone seems to be locked down, man. So obviously, again, let me start off with this, man. For the people listening, could you give me just a little brief overview of, who is Chan Berry?
oh man,
Because I know I can talk about it, but I would like it to come from you.
Sergio, that's hard, man. I'm I'm a dad, I'm a husband. I live here in Los Angeles. I'm from New Jersey, by way of Newark, East Orange, Maplewood, New Jersey. My career has been through television, sorry, radio, television, and film. And as of today, I'm known as a filmmaker, basically known for documentary films
Okay.
that I do on the African American experience. Um, and music. A lot of them do films, and I tour with my films, and I lecture. And I love people who look like us.
Absolutely.
A lot.
Well, it's your films again. People who haven't been able to check them out, you need to check them out because one thing that I've always known from you, and it's one of those things that I think a lot of us, I like. You're one of the people that I've always enjoyed our conversations. And there's not many people out there that you feel like when you're actually speaking to, you're getting wisdom, and it feels like I said, you're getting that wisdom from the ancestors when you're talking to Chan. All right, when you're talking to Uncle Chan, like that's what it feels like. And I will be honest with you, that's the respect also that I hold for you. And when we have these conversations, and that's why I've always looked at you as a mentor and somebody whom I really look up to. It's especially now that I'm really deep diving into this field. In terms of media, and I know it's a little different from what you do, but still in all the grand scheme of things, except I'm still getting into the media realm. So being able to be, in this realm, seeing what you're doing, it's really been somebody that I feel like I could always look up to and say, okay, we have somebody there. But more importantly, with that also is the way that you really uphold the black experience. I mean, you have your documentary, one of the biggest things that I think one of the great ones that you have is it's Dark Girls, and that's it, right? Dark Girls or Color Girls? Dark Girls.
Dark
Yes,
Girls.
okay, I was right. And not enough of us now, and we're finally starting to see that come out, actually talk about not only the black experience, but the black female experience. And for you to have to put out an entire documentary, I think it's really powerful and it's important to be able to have those conversations, especially as a black man. Because a lot of us don't end up getting that. We don't have the opportunity, and people don't look at us like we're empathetic enough to understand the experience. And it really shows the being a legitimate ally. And it's something that as a man, as a man of color myself, I realize that I even struggle with at times. And you almost look at it in terms of how people are relating. For instance, like I've always looked at it like, oh, white people can't relate to my experience. You know what I mean? They can't relate. They can't possibly get how I feel about something. And when I say certain things, my girlfriend, my partner will remind me, dude, do you know how you sound right now? You know what I mean? You sound just like. And when you hear that, you're like, dude, I want to be more of an ally. I need to hear it. So just speak to in doing that, being an ally and what you learned from that experience. I mean, not just on only that, because don't get it twisted. I have to talk about your ties with hip hop. I have to. I'm about the culture. I love hip hop, so we have to talk about that. But in terms of what we were just talking about, man, how do you feel about that?
Well, you said a mouthful, nephew. I don't even know where to begin because I don't. I mean, if you just give me the question, because you gave me a lot. Just
In
give me
terms
the
of how do you feel in terms of in that case just putting out a piece about someone's experience that is not one of your own? How have you been able to navigate that?
well. First of all, being an African American man who loves his people and love people, period, but especially loves women uh, of color, and needs to be a man who has passion for us as a people, but wanting to be a part of the healing process of all of us. So I decided in this particular series to Dark Girls, Bill Duke and I, 11 years ago, probably started this thing off. The Dark Girls won. And we decided to take up the cameras and our manhood and go talk to sisters around the country, around the world, about what it is to be dark in complexion, what it is to be light in complexion, how has it served you, how has it depressed you, how has it glorified you, how has it helped you move forward in dealing with your vision. And through that conversations and research, we found that there were so many sisters that were in pain, Tizzy, that were still dealing with childhood traumas and dramas and tragedies that had befallen them because of their skin complexion.
Right.
So we two men saw it as something that we needed to talk about. How we gathered the experience is because we happened to be two dark-skinned little boys growing up. Bill growing up in Poughkeepsie, New York, me growing up in East Orange, in Maplewood, and North New Jersey, and being called all kinds of things, but right. You know, talked about being pointed at, oh, he's too dark, he's too thin, he's too ugly. So I was called dark, thin, ugly, nappy headed, not smart enough, those sort of things. And it played a toll on me. It took a toll on me as a little boy, as a teenager, and somewhat into my adulthood until I found strength in what God was telling me about my purpose on the planet. And that's when I changed. But it didn't change for a lot of dark skinned sisters or light skinned sisters. Dark skinned sisters were still going through it beyond us African American men who were dark in complexion. It's in that we African American men who were dark in complexion, we were in vogue, so to speak. Became the thing to have, to be, to want to have.
I mean, Michael
Where
Jordan was right there for you guys, man. He
yeah,
set it up, bro. You know what I'm saying?
well, Mike set up for your age. Who set up for us was basically Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier
Shares my
and
birthday. You just throwed it out there.
yes, 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 yes. Sidney Poitier and Richard Roundtree in Shaft. And then later years, there were, Glenn Turman and Wesley Snipes, who were
Sure.
brothers in dark skin. Now, Morris Chestnut, Tay Diggs, um,
Chadwick
you
Boseman.
know, exactly,
Yeah.
Chad, Chadwick. So now it's okay to be dark and to be a brother and be accepted and be loved and be considered handsome. You know, Uh, we've got some breakup on the screen. I don't know if it's breaking up on your end,
It's
but
clear now. Yeah, I had a little stab for a second, but it's back active.
okay, because I can't see you.
Ah,
So
okay. Let's see if it fixes
so
it.
there we go. There we go.
Okay.
We're back. I can see you. So what bringing what Bill and I had gone through our childhood and being called like all the different names, we understood what the possibilities of what these sisters were still going through years later. And we decided to pull the scab off of that, so to speak, and get to the sore, the crux of the problem of why we're still dealing with colorism in America and abroad. So it was a completely devastating mission because it was like we couldn't believe so much pain, but also so much glory too. Because there were sisters who didn't go through pain, who were just queen like in their walk, in their color, in their self esteem was high, because they had someone in the family, mother, father, sister, brother, who told them when they were young that you were beautiful.
It makes a
And you,
difference.
and you will always be beautiful.
Yeah.
But there were some women who never heard that and were abused because of that.
Yeah, it's interesting and it's funny because, especially with, for instance, the political climate that we currently have, and we see, for instance, a lot of young children, black, white, everything in between, all they knew was a black man as president and seeing a black woman, for instance, as honestly the most powerful woman in the world, in Michelle Obama. And it was seen and understood as beautiful. She's beautiful. She's strong. She's this. So people have a different, not all people, but I think it's finally starting to shift, and we're starting to see, for instance, everything from what, like, for instance, like the Lena Waiths are doing and everything. There is such a power in that. I mean, just prime example, my partner, she was in a project, a Emmy nominated project called Dark Girls, or Brown Girls, I'm sorry, and that did phenomenal. And it's just showing their, and I'm happy that I'm starting to see that more and more. For instance, not just in Hollywood, but just in all facets. We're starting to slowly. We're starting to be able to see everyone is being able to pretty much get their own experience out there and show that their experience. Because all of us were living through specifically just one lens. This is the experience that we can try to relate with. Now we're starting to see the experience of other individuals, and we're understanding that, man, that person, no matter what they are, no matter who they are, we can relate to them. And we're starting to see people that have that, for instance, power structure, I feel like, in each realm. We have the rich, black folk, black and brown folks, who we can sit there and look at and say that they're powerful, they're beautiful, they're known as this. I mean, a lot of time people look at the most beautiful person and the woman in the world, people think is Rihanna. I'm not here to tell them anything otherwise, but a lot of people think that, and which is understandable. So I'm really love what you've done with that. I love I hate to say that it's a trend, but it's something that I hope, just like for instance, the trend of hip hop. People thought it was just a trend or a fad, and we're both testaments that it has continued going. What is your thoughts, for instance, on the growth? And let me know a little bit about your background and kind of growth. Like you're from the area where hip hop started, man. You were there. How do you feel about the growth of it? Just to start with that, just the growth of hip hop in your pretty much legitimately that hip hop era. How do you feel about that?
I was there living through the beginnings of hip hop in New York, in New Jersey, um, through Brooklyn and the Bronx, be down Bronx, um, parts of Harlem, Queens, Manhattan, North New Jersey, East Orange, New Jersey. Um, it came out of on the heels of disco music leaving, in the 80s, early 80s, um, late 70s, early 80s. These are the breaks with Curtis, Curtis,
Well, yeah, man.
and good Lord, I mean, Big Daddy Kane,
Yo, New York had to be live back then.
it was
Had to be
you know it
live,
was
man.
sucker MCs, that sort of thing going on in battles, about that sort of thing. It was different, man. It was different,
Not to
and
sound corny, but how was the energy there, like with that?
the energy was incredible. But the New York energy, the tri-state energy, has always been incredible when it came to music and culture,
Yes.
especially for African Americans, Puerto Ricans, um, Dominicans, Jamaicans, all the people from the islands in in uh, in New York. It was a melting
Yeah,
pot of
absolutely.
people of color and everywhere, from Europeans to everywhere. But the whole African American and Latino and Latina uh, combination gave us such rich culture to talk about, to rap about, and just to see that it all came together, and it was cool. It was one MC going after another MC, and it wasn't a lot of cursing. It wasn't a lot of putting down a brother or a sister. Later on, when the women got into it, it was a whole different message, man. It was a whole different message. And then they cutting up records, and your mama's records, taking old school, and making jams out of
Yeah.
them. Um, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. These, like I said, these are the breaks, and the message. Don't. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome time, and it was a new beginning. And then things started to change later on. With the spreading of hip hop and of rap music towards the West Coast, and then years later came the whole gangster thing, and that changed everything, which I thought was a horrible thing for me, because it was like holes and ditches and that sort of thing, and I wasn't used to doing that
Okay.
and hearing, so it kind of turned me off.
Right.
So the biggest thing out of that to me was, I was living in Oakland at the time, so it was too short, and then
Early Pac.
early Pac, when Pac was with Digital Underground at the time in Oakland, and they were just a fun cats who were doing rapping and whatnot over some serious grooves and whatnot, some serious beats and whatnot. And then here comes NWA out of Compton and Watts and all them cats, and that changed everything. But I was still stuff, Jurassic 5 and Wu Tang
Tribe.
and Tribe Called
Yeah.
Quest, and
Still some of my
all of
all
that,
time
man.
favorites.
Yeah, those are the cats I kind of liked. But I was a jazz head, I was an R&B head, I was older, but I did appreciate a lot of the music that came out of that. Like I said, the whole NWA thing, I couldn't get to that at all. The whole gangster rap
Right.
thing.
Now,
I did love Tupac, and I did love Biggie, uh, the poets, street poets. They reminded me a lot of the last poets who
yeah.
came out of New York, you know, in the '60s. But yeah,
So you had an opportunity. You have a couple stories in there. You and I discussed about Pac, and you've met him. What do you feel made him so different? What made him stand out? Because you've had a unique opportunity to meet so many individuals in your lifetime. Pac is obviously so revered, not only in my generation, but I mean the one past my
mine
yours
too.
as well. So what made him so special?
Pac was smart. He was smart. He was super talented. Um, he listened. He studied. Um, he was to me, he was well rounded. Pac was well rounded. And if Pac would have lived, Pac could have been, another version of our version of James Dean, so to speak. To
Right.
me, um, he had the chops of being an actor. He could write. He could flow. You know, um, he could have been anything. Pac could have been anything and everything.
Yeah.
You know, but like all life, it's about decisions.
That's true. And
It's
that's
about
always been my knock on him.
it's about choices, and choices have consequences. And
Absolutely.
he chose some people. Some people chose him, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what happened.
Yeah, it's such a. I mean, obviously that story, as long as with Biggie Smalls, it's such a tragic story, especially thinking about what could have been, and then it kind of brings us all the way over to hip hop today, and the individuals like Jay-Z that were there around the same time and are striving and being not only icons within hip hop in the music industry, but also becoming icons in culturally as well. I mean, to me, Jay Z is the GOAT. You know what I mean? Like that's the GOAT to me. I don't think there's anybody, not only with longevity, but also in terms of the art and the artistry of hip hop. To me, I've always believed that Jay was the best. So
For
it,
me, man, you know what? Not to cut you
no worries.
off, but I really enjoyed um, Public Enemy.
Love Public Enemy.
I really enjoyed Nas, Wu Tang Crew. Um, Jay. I like Jay. I like Mos Def.
Love
You
Most
know,
Def.
but those are my favorites.
Nice.
In terms of and plus of course Pac, of course. Um, but there were Fat Joe.
Love
You
Fat.
know,
Dude, Big Pun to me is
Big
Big
Pun,
Pun is my like. Granted, he was like a Puerto Rican dude, and that especially at that point in time.
Big Pun,
Oh
Fat Joe,
man,
Pun. Let me tell you,
dude,
if he if he would have lived, dude, um, I had so much respect for him, and also Eric B and Rakim. You know, those cats right there, man. Woo! See, Eric, I mean, Rakim to me is most powerful, bro.
yo, Rakim, man,
I mean, for me,
Rakim is. I understand. I can't knock it because I mean I listened to him. Again, he's another one with not. He had the voice. He had the delivery. He had the rhyme schemes. He
woo,
had the metaphors. Everything that you
yes,
wanted. I mean, do was it. He was able to combine so much. He was able to combine. He was kind of gritty, from the streets, but at the same time, he was able to be smooth and get the ladies. Like it was cool. He was a cool dude, man. I'm a fan, and for me, he was a little earlier than me, so when I was around in college and after college is when I started going back and actually looking at some of the older groups from the generation before me. So, because really, realistically, I didn't really start listening to hip hop until late 90s, so 97, 98. And that's, after Reasonable Doubt, that's after everything. So that's when Jay is really hitting his stride. That's when Jay and Nas have their thing. So that's all like when I'm really starting to listen to hip hop. And that's why I'm kind of growing into it. But it's funny, and something that's happening now, and you participated as well, and I want to talk to you about this, is because of the pandemic and because of people not being able to communicate with individuals the same way they have. Yo, the DJ is making a comeback. The producer is making the comeback. Because when hip hop first started, it was the DJ. It was me and my DJ. You know what I'm saying? It was me and the producer, and it was the DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, right? So you had that, and it's cool because you're now starting to see these producer battles on Instagram. On the Instagram and on Facebook, where you're starting to see these big names going out there and really putting on a show and really showing that there is a skill and talent in terms of being a producer, a real skill and talent in being a DJ. A song selector is something that is a legitimate talent. Is this era what's happening with hip hop and things like that? Just in with the social distancing and everything that's happening outside right now, You've participated. Is this something that you think is going to really revitalize the DJ or the producer?
Well, yes, it has. The DJ slash producer will never ever go away because as long as there's music, there will be someone else to play the music for you. There will always be someone who is a master of collecting the music and wanting the masses to hear it.
Yes.
Uh, there's always somebody who will be creating new pieces of music, pushing music forward, who needs a person to latch onto that and expose it to the universe. There will always be people who will be looking for the newest new, the
Yes.
greatest, greatest, the
Yes.
newest greatest, as Spike would say, the latest greatest. So yeah, the DJ is always and always will be the hostess with the mostest.
I'll be honest with you. I have really enjoyed it. I mean, when you started seeing, oh man, well, obviously Timberland and Swiss Beats kicked it off. I mean, people were talking about it, and and I don't know why
Right.
I'm slipping on the gentleman's name, but he was the one who really kicked it off.
Be nice.
Yes, there it is.
Be nice.
D Nice went out there and just crushed the game, and after that, I even saw yours, and you were out there jamming as well, man. Do you think that this is something that's going to continue, even past this? Because I really think it's somewhere that people are getting, great music. I think people are really enjoying it and sitting home. I personally think it's going to be here for a while, and the way they're going to do it, is this something that you could actually say you see yourself continuing in the future, like doing from time to time?
Yeah, man, I love it. It takes me back because I was in radio many, many years ago as a disc jockey. I worked in New York, BLS, with Frankie Crocker as his assistant in programming.
Wow.
And then I went over to work for Inner City Broadcasting, who owned KBLX at that time, had another station in Berkeley, California, and was run by a buddy of mine, B.K. Kirkland, who was also
Yeah.
on the air with Frank Crocker. And B.K. became program director in Berkeley, California at KBLX, The Quiet Storm. So I went and worked there and worked at other couple of radio stations and decided that radio, television, film would be my path, and that's what I did. So music has always been around. DJ has always been around. I love it. So now I get a chance to do it on Sundays
That's
here
cool.
on Facebook. But I'm not spinning with the turntables. I'm straight old school, playing one
That's
record after
dope.
another record.
That's dope.
No mix. It's straight old school. One jams from the 70s and the 80s and 90s and some of the 2000s. So anywhere I can play anywhere from the Delphonics to the Temptations
Nice.
to Kim to Jill Scott
Whew.
to to the Intruders to Blue Magic to Earth, Wind and Fire to Mary J. Blige.
Awesome. I love it.
Taking all the old school soft cuts, mellow cuts, toe tapping cuts,
Yeah.
and making a way out of no way for people who want to get away from what's on the social media thing and on the television. Let's just take an adult break for about 2 or 3 hours and come take a ride with me down the Mellow Brook
I'm
Road.
telling you, man. Look, I think that's awesome that you're doing that. So you do that every Sunday right now on Facebook?
Sunday from 5 West Coast time, 8 o'clock East Coast time for about 2 or 3 hours.
That's amazing.
I'm playing all the slow jams and the toe
I'm
tappers.
telling you, man. When this is all said and done, and we can actually be outside, I'm gonna have to come by and hang out when you do that, man. I love that. It's
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
yes.
love it, man. I love it. So
Family influence.
well, look, man, I love it. Like I said, I'm not gonna take up too much more of your time. Couple of quick hits before we get you out of here, man. With the quarantine, again, a lot of us have been inside. I've been asking everybody this. What is some? What have you been watching? What have you been? Give me two things you've been watching that people need to tune into. Give me two things that you've been listening to. That's really yeah, watching, listening to, or reading.
Well, um, I'm not bored, so I'm working on my other documentaries right now.
All right, all
So,
right. I know you have
um,
some things in the tuck waiting, man. So I didn't want to get into it too much unless you wanted to, but
yeah, so I'm doing three documentaries right now. I do
amazing.
it at once, so it takes all my. I'm doing a thing called the Covered Mind. The Covered Mind: Mental
Okay.
Illness in the African American Community. Part one on children, part two on
Wow.
adults. One of the heaviest documentaries I've ever done. So I started that about a year ago, year and a half ago, and the research is phenomenal. The interviews are phenomenal. So I'll have another year or two dealing with that. Then I started working on the Rufus and Shaka Khan documentary uh, called Ask Rufus
Okay.
uh, with Shaka in the band, and
Chi-Town's very own.
of course, of course, of
You
course.
know.
And then I'm doing the Whispers documentary on the Whispers.
Nice. Wow. That should be
And
awesome.
yeah, and get ready to pick up another one. So and so, but yeah, so I spend a lot of time watching movies, man. I don't go out. People think I'm always out in the street and hobnobbing. I don't do any of that. I don't do the Hollywood parties. I don't do Hollywood at all. I'm home watching, studying. I was studying. Oh, like I was watching. Um, oh my, what's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Great movie. Early
Great
Leo
movie.
movie. Early Leonardo
Yeah,
DiCaprio. Yeah.
yeah, just brilliant performances. Brilliant performances.
Yeah.
I'm watching All About Eve, 1942, 43,
Wow.
with Betty Davis. So I'm watching, Stormy Weather with Lena Horne
Okay.
and Cab Calloway. Uh,
Classics.
I'm watching The Fortune Cookie, a movie called The Fortune. So I'm watching a lot of stuff. I'm watching a lot of different things.
Nice.
But there's some for acting, some for directing, some for lighting, some for other issues.
So do you watch a lot of these to get that? Obviously it's work, it's studying, but you're getting like inspiration from those pieces.
Yeah, man, and also it keeps you up, you know,
That's awesome.
on what you could possibly tweak. And if a director is directing an actor to do this and to say this, and then the actor does something on a physical tip, it's like, well, maybe I wouldn't, maybe I'll kind of tweak that a little bit. So if it's ever a scene like that or something that was being said like that, I can make it my own by doing this or shooting it this way or shooting it from a different angle or maybe having the actor just not say the whole sentence but say just two words in that sentence to pull it through. Yeah, so I'm always chopping it up, looking at it, but I'm also standing back looking at it from a person who wants to enjoy a movie also.
Right. Right. Is that how you end up also? I mean, it has to be difficult just the way that the industry continues moving. And again, even for myself, I am in an industry that moves quickly. How do you catch yourself? Is it I'm trying to stay, I have to find out what's new so I can stay relevant, or I have to pretty much, I want to get ahead of the curve so I can essentially create the trends. Is there a fine balance between that for you?
I I I'm an old man who stays around a lot of young.
Hang out with me, I'm saying that.
You guys and you guys younger that I listen to when it comes to technology. And I love sitting down and talking to people, period. But I really have a love for sitting down and talking to young people, all genders and sexualities and
Absolutely.
colors about what is that makes you tick and what's going on in your life, your culture, your spirit, and how is it working out technology. So I'm just to take all that in. So I'm surrounded by a lot of young people who give me what I need was to move me forward
That's, yeah.
technically and idea wise.
I think that's how. people continue, and again, we talked about Jay-Z, for instance. I think that people like yourself, him, people like that, and yes, I do put you in this in the same breath as that. And the reason I say that is because you guys are the individuals that are, are still staying extremely relevant and growing with the culture. And I think there is people get to a certain point where they're not doing that, and they get stuck in their ways. The fact that you've been able to adapt and continue growing, and I think that, again, for me, I think that's one of the benefits why I feel like I've always been able to talk to you, because I know I learned something, because I know you're evolving at the same, if not a quicker pace than people much younger as well. And that, I think that says a lot, man. So I just want to, for me personally, I know that is one of the big major reasons why, I've always looked up to you. And man, hey, this has been amazing, brother. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, man. Parting shots before we get you out of here, man. Anything on your mind you want to talk about, please let me know, sir.
First of all, thank you for having me, Sergio, on the show. I love you dearly, you know that.
Yes, sir. Me too,
And
man.
I love your mom and your dad and your brother. And that's family. Everybody's God's sons and God folk over here and over there. So it's family. So it's easy. It's easy. But I love who you become as a man.
Thank you, sir.
Uh, I've known you since you baby boy, so it's beautiful to watch you see and what you've come to. And your parents did a great job with you and your brother. And I'm more from you as always, as we all are. Bigger and better things, and I see it coming. Just stay safe, stay smart, stay faithful, stay blessed,
Yes, sir.
protected, and you'll be fine like the rest of us.
Absolutely, man. There it is. Well, Chan Bear, man, hey, many blessings to you, brother. Thank you so much. Love and everybody to the family over there, man. Tell everybody I said hello. And we have to do this again sometime soon, man. Next time, hopefully in person. But, if we're still here for another year, we got to do it again here.
All right. Sounds good enough for me.
All right, man. Hey, it's always a pleasure, brother. Love you, man. And we will talk very soon. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Thank you,
Congratulations.
sir. All right. Peace
Peace.
out. All right. All right. Let me switch over. That was my conversation with D. Channsin Berry, man. Always a pleasure talking to him. He's one of those individuals that, I'll be honest with you, man. He's you always learn something new. That conversation, honestly, I could have talked to him for another hour and a half, man, to be honest with you. But we have to move on. We have another guest coming on the show today. It's actually going to be Rick Ramos. Rick Ramos is the head coach, head trainer of the only world boxing champion in all of Chicago. So he'll be on the show later on today. Actually, that's coming on in about 10 minutes, so we'll have him on. And we have more content coming for you guys, man. So thank you to my guest, Chan Berry, for coming on today. Thank you guys for listening. You guys hold fast. Come back in a couple minutes. We have a whole new interview for you guys today. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time right here on the Fight Podcast.